Thank you.
Karibu. Hello, Tanzania. Habari, Tanzania. Thank you, Patrick, for introducing me so nicely. And this is a wonderful conference here at NIT in Dar es Salaam. And I'm very happy and honored to be with you. Not in person, unfortunately, but I think we will meet in September. And hopefully I can meet a lot of you then there at NIT. Dear colleagues, dignitaries, and students, I want to talk about sea algae. There are about hundreds of species, and we usually talk about seagrass or seaweed. As you can see from these pictures, there's the beautiful beach of Tanzania on the top, and then the not so beautiful beach, not in Tanzania, but in Barbados, in the Caribbean. And I sail in France, and we have similar beaches there, like the bottom picture. They should be like the one above, but they look like the one below. Now, why do I bring this here during this conference? Patrick has already introduced most of that, what I just said. I'm an older guy. I started as a pilot, turned to instruction, love to do this still today, and then management, initially all around pilots, fleets, training, and later I started several airlines, also in your region, and aviation companies around the world. But my real passion is to research, find solutions, and help others to learn, progress in their careers, and leave a mark, add value, and live a happy life. For many years, I've been working in and around Africa now, which I believe is left behind in aviation. 1.4 billion Africans don't have a well-served aviation network. 1/4 of mankind has only about 2% of the aviation industry. This is why I think the SATEM, the Single African Air Transport Market, the initiative of the African Union, very much supported by ICAO and others, is so important for Africa, and also, of course, the African Free Trade Zone also pushed in the 2063 strategy of the African Union. Open up Africa, get a continental attitude going in aviation. Routledge book is finished about Open Sky Africa, hopefully published by the end of this year. But I do have a new book out, Airline Customer Experience, where I wrote a chapter on artificial intelligence in aviation. But today I want to talk about aircraft fuel, more specifically producing it out of biomass. A master student of mine, Ahmed Uluodo, researched and wrote his dissertation about sustainable aviation fuel and soon found the worldwide exploding resource of seaweed, mainly sargassum, floating around by tides and drifts. And we wrote a paper on it for this conference and as part of the SATEM book coming up. More importantly, the first African Aviation Aerospace University in Abuja, which I had the pleasure of launching, just received approval to start the African Center for Climate Change and Aviation Decarbonization, which will research on reducing CO2 emissions from fossil fuels and look specifically after the opportunities using sea algae for sustainable aviation fuel or SAF production. So let's talk about algae and about Tanzania and the difference between the good algae, mostly microalgae, and the overgrowth of macroalgae, mainly sargassum and kelp. How can you make SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, out of macroalgae, and what opportunities result from it as the world has a plan? By 2050, most of the aviation fuel, more than 65%, shall be produced out of biomaterials, thus reducing our CO2 emission footprint. And it is started today, this year, 2025, where 2% of all aviation fuel are supposed to be from SAF. The regulations are set and enforced for the first time this year. Also for Africa, for Tanzania. But we do not have one single SAF refinery in Africa. Hold on. But we do have widespread agriculture in Tanzania, Zanzibar, and other East African countries. Here in East Africa, we have mainly the good guys, microalgae, commonly called seagrass, which is agri-farmed on the beaches and used for many products, soaps, agra, oils, my favorite, as sell it in many kitchens. Seagrass species support marine biodiversity by providing habitat and food for numerous aquatic organisms. Our focus lies on the free-floating green macroalgae, mainly sargassum. It has become a major disturbance in the marine world, visible on beautiful white beaches to all tourists, but affecting coral reefs, a variety of marine vegetation, and significantly the fishermen and all ocean vessels. The beach cast of sargassum is the visible, smelly issue. The environmental disturbance is all around in our oceans, caused by global warming and the pollution of our oceans. Seaweed is not the best feedstock for aviation fuel, but it is a nuisance, a danger to the marine world, and widely available. There are different processes to win biogas and turn into SAF. You need about 14 to 20 tons of seaweed for the production of 1 ton of fuel. As the process needs energy, heat, and pressure, the solar energy in the tropics and the wind and tidal energy from the ocean are supporting a cost and environmentally efficient production of SAF. The greatest advantage of seaweed over other feedstock is the availability and cost-free availability. It is not advisable to use human food stock like palm oil, sugar cane, and so on as feedstock for SAF, although the non-eatable waste could also be used in a seaweed plant. How long and how much seaweed we will have is a question to be researched further. It came upon us a few years ago, growing continuously, but is this a continuing issue? There are 2 ways to get SAF, either via an ethanol transit or via the hydrothermal pressure to produce oil, both proven productions with other biomaterials. The refineries are expensive, of course. It's a lot of technology, and of course the mass production needs significant industry measures here, but they're less expensive than the fossil fuel or the standard refineries for crude oil, and are maybe also, when produced in several numbers, getting cheaper and more towards the 700 million than the 1 billion. But it is an expensive investment. However, it is, of course, a budgetary calculation on how you make use of this investment. The current price of the fossil fuel kerosene is about $690 per metric ton. That's what airlines pay today, on average in the world.